Okay, so this paper has been co-written by Ursula Amato, my colleague, and Matthew Brightwell, our Library Systems Manager, who's not here with us today. Ursula and I were part of a small project team tasked with redeveloping the Defence Science and Technology Group, henceforth known as DST because it is a mouthful, Library Intranet website. This was done during a time of immense transformation in our library, where we transitioned from a traditional library service to a digital delivery service. The new intranet website we were developing was to become the digital front door to our library website. Today, Ursula and I will give an overview of the project, including the library transition challenges, some of the content development processes we undertook, change management, and some of the lessons we learnt. We're not going to be focusing on the technical aspects of the project because our library systems manager isn't here. He was our technical guru. But a lot of that information is available in our papers, so you can have a look in there or send us an email or speak to us afterwards. So a bit of background for those who don't know who Defence Science and Technology is. DST is part of the Australian Department of Defence and works closely with the Australian Defence Forces. So our customers are the Navy, Army and Air Force. DST is Australia's government's lead agency responsible for safeguarding Australia and its national interests. Its core roles are around providing expert and impartial advice and support for the conduct of operations for the current force and for future acquisition for future defence capabilities. DST employs over 2,300 employees, and these are mostly engineers, physicists, mathematicians, and also research support staff. And we're located across Australia. Ursula and I are both located in the largest DST site, which is in Adelaide. And there are about 1,500 employees on the Adelaide site. So Ursula and I both work, or in my substantive role, work as research librarians within the Research Information Services, or RIS. There's about 25 professional staff located across Australia in 4 sites. We provide research and information services to our researchers, and we have scientific resources of postgraduate quality, and that's a range of mathematics and physics through to human sciences and behavioural sciences. We've got a consolidated print repository located on our Melbourne site, and all of our books are loaned from here. And we have no physical service desk or library as place presence on our site. All of our services are delivered digitally via the intranet website, our Ask a Librarian service, email, phone, and also via our research librarians. I'll just talk about we've changed where we are now a digital-only service. However, back in 2015, we were a traditional library service. So just to have a bit of a discussion around why we changed and where we are now. So in 2015, RIS, or at the time it was called the Research Library, embarked on a strategic change journey. The new model of service delivery was developed and services were transitioned rapidly to a digital delivery model. This came about because of defence reviews and also some corporate strategic reviews, which established a vision for ICT research services and for our information management. Highlighted was the need for us to be more agile and to be integrated into the life cycle of research. And we also had to work closer with our researchers and to be more collaborative and to use more modern technologies and innovations. However, we were a research library. So in 2015, a new strategic end state vision came out. And at the time, we had library print collections and physical service desks in 4 sites. But we were also spending 98% of our budget on electronic resources. So we were already quite digitally, we had a lot of digital services. However, they wanted to rapidly move us towards digital resources, and we were tasked with reducing our physical presence. So in 2016, the new digital delivery model of service began, and 52,000 books from our 4 sites were moved to the purpose-built central repository located in Melbourne. Our service desks from across our 4 sites were closed, and also our library places were closed. Our staff in each site were remained, so thankfully we didn't lose any staff, but our services are now all delivered electronically. Books are loaned from our Melbourne site. We have a team of research librarians who continue to provide outreach services. So our research library transitioned to research information services, and now all of our researchers now access our collections and our services and staff from our intranet website. So the website redevelopment project was initiated. So with the move to our digital preferred service, we needed to redevelop our website as we were now delivering all of our services and resources via our website. Our website is our front door, and I guess really it's only our only door into our services and resources. However, our old website was old, hadn't been redeveloped for over 8 years, with only ad hoc fixes put in place as we added in new content. So the project was initiated to do a complete redevelopment of our website, and was scoped with improving the digital delivery experience for our researchers, build a website which was creative in design but also needed to be in restrictive DST and defence guidelines. We were tasked with removing library jargon and to make RIS information easy to find. Needed to be modelled on best practice from Australian and international academic and research library websites. And we also had to improve administration, which was at the time managed by only 1 staff member, so there was a single point of failure if this person was away. The old website did not reflect our transformative change, which RIS was undertaking, so we were after a website which was user-friendly and through which all of our services and resources could be easily accessed and delivered to our researchers' desktop. Of course, like with any project, we had some challenges during the project, which took us about 2 years from planning through to launch. And when we first started the project, it actually predated our transition, so that came along halfway, towards the beginning of our project, where we learnt that our model was changing. Some of the challenges we were able to foresee during the project planning phase, and these were identified as risks, such as the restrictive and secure defence environment that we were working within. However, others came out of left field. We were completely reliant on one person, a DST web developer, for his expertise. But of course, being reliant on one person meant that as other work was prioritised, our project came further down his list. And I recall, I'm not sure, it's not fondly, but on one day, 2 of our biggest challenges came to hand, and that we received an email from the only web developer in DST to say that he was resigning from DST, and that he wasn't sure when they were going to replace him, and it was several months before they replaced him. And also, just after receiving that email, we had a meeting of all RIS staff where it was announced that our physical libraries were going to close with the consolidation of collections, and so all of our service from closure were to be delivered digitally. So our website development project was now going to run in parallel with the transition of the library. So this changed the schedule and scope of our project and probably blew it out, I would say, probably by 12 months. I think we were, as a team, when we went into the project, we were inexperienced in all aspects of web development and project management, but we were fairly enthusiastic and understood our researchers and understood what we were able to provide to them. But at the beginning, there was certainly a steep learning curve that we went through. And also, we wanted to limit the constraints of being reliant on one DST web developer. So we took ownership of the design and development requirements. and we embarked on an intensive learning process to build skills in project management, web design, writing web content, WordPress, HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, amongst many more trainings that we underwent. So I guess we we looked at where our skills were and where we wanted to get to, and when our web developer left, we spent that couple of months in the interim of doing a lot of upskilling. So just talk about some of how we, in the initial stage or the initial phase of the project when we were planning the website structure and some of the information architecture. Part of that phase, we reviewed 29 Australian and international academic library websites. Actually, we probably looked at all of Australia. I think if you got an Australian academic library website, we would have reviewed it. And we were interested in finding out how they got their information architecture structure was like. So what were they labelling their top tab names? Were they using words such as services and resources, which is what we were using on our old website? Our review found that this terminology wasn't really being used anymore. Only 4 out of the 29 websites that were reviewed used resources as a tab, or in any of their wording on their front page. And the word services was used only in 51% of the websites. Instead, tabs were labelled with more active and directional labels such as find, discover, search, access and borrow. And also the term research or researcher was also heavily used in over 80% of the websites. This informed our tab names, which are now access and research, and we don't use resources or services on our websites. We also reviewed the websites to see how many clicks to information they had. And there was, of course, quite a variance, but it was between 2 and 4. So that's the clicks of when you click on it and you actually get something that's usable to you. Our old website had a lot of clicks to information. I think the most was 5. So there was certainly a lot of frustration amongst our users that there was so many steps they had to get through to get to information. So one of our key aims was to reduce this and to get the majority of our information and resources within 2 clicks. And we're mostly being successful in doing this. We're also interested to see what library jargon or terminology was being used on websites. Were academic libraries using library jargon such as interlibrary loan and catalogue? No, there was a mixture of this. However, many libraries were now using a more conversational style, such as borrow or request from other libraries instead of interlibrary loans. And we also use this on our website and don't refer to interlibrary loans. Skip through to some of the content, some of the things we learnt with our content development. Early on, when we first started creating our content, we developed the RIS website guide. And this was to ensure that, because we had quite a lot of people within the library writing content, we wanted to ensure that it was consistent in expression, language and writing style. And this was developed early on and became a living document where we added to as we found out more information and decided what wording we were going to use, and it's also being used today. Some of the guidelines we developed when writing content include using, to make sure that the writing style was conversational. So use words such as you, us, we, our. And we also wanted to make sure that we use short sentences and dot points because people really don't like looking through a lot of text. The library jargon on our old website had received criticism from our researchers as they didn't often understand what it was. In surveys, we had comments that they didn't understand even words which to us, we know what they are, but they didn't even understand what catalogue was. They weren't sure what they were going to find when they clicked on that link, and also the word serials. So they're common day words to us, but to our researchers they were confused. So we therefore tried to remove as much jargon as we could from our website. Catalogue is used sparsely, being replaced in most instances by find a book. And serials became the more understood, with our researchers, the more understood journals. And we don't use the word click here or follow this link. So we don't use click here for researchers, research librarians, or follow this link for research librarians. They've been completely removed from our website. Instead, we just use the word, for example, research librarians. From our reviews of what other websites we're doing, it seems that website users are very used to now following hyperlink words and don't need the extra instruction. So I'm just going to hand over to Ursula now, who's going to show you the website and talk about some of our client testing, our staff training and our change management processes.
Thanks, Deanne. So the next phase of the project was to actually create all of the web pages, which was around 100 in all, onto the WordPress platform, with constant reference back to the website guide, as Deanne has mentioned. As a defence group with an internally hosted, secure and restrictive network environment, it was not possible for us to purchase commercial off-the-shelf templates such as LibGuides. Therefore, the creation of all the pages needed to be undertaken in-house. Advanced custom field templates were developed to create static pages, post and page templates, all of which required the approval of Defence Science Communications, which is our internal directorate which controls all of our branding. Unfortunately, we are restricted to show examples as part of a presentation. However, the advanced custom fields, templates and the pages are contained within our full paper. So once approval of the final website from the project stakeholder was granted, the systematic process of usability testing could commence. So RIS staff and a selection of researchers were invited to participate in a pilot group. A test plan document was created consisting of 3 sections. Firstly, a number of questions were asked, such as, what do you like or don't like about the website? Is it easy to navigate? And are the tab headings logical? Secondly, 10 specific questions were asked to assess the ease of searching, such as, who's the research librarian for the Land Division? And does RIS provide access to the e-resource Scopus? And can you extend your Open Athens account? Lastly, the testing sought general feedback and comments, and all of the test documentation was reviewed and any suggested enhancements or deficiencies were taken into consideration. So the RIS website redevelopment project completely redesigned every aspect of the website, including the information architecture, the navigation, the access to our discovery layer, e-resources and the contact methods for our RIS staff. Even the URL changed, our name changed and also our branding. So to ensure the successful adoption and the ultimate utilisation of this change, we implemented a change management plan. And within Defence, there's also a mandated methodology that we must use, which is the ProSci change management and the adoption of the ADCAR framework. The plan involved consultation with sponsors, stakeholders, the project team, RIS staff and the researchers to assess the organisational attributes and our change characteristics to determine the level of risks that would result from the change. A detailed communication plan was essential to our change management plan, and it was directed at very specific audiences, utilising different modes of communication and having a targeted time frame. So the next phase of our project was to train our RIS staff, and it was undertaken in 2 streams. Firstly, we looked at our RIS staff as our change champions. They needed to be familiar with the new website, the architecture, the navigation and the placement of all of the content in order to assist all of the DST researchers. We looked at our RIS staff as the opportunity that drove our change. And secondly, they were now going to be the content creators, as maintenance and the creation of new content was now accessible by all RIS staff, and therefore distributing the ownership and responsibility of specific pages. In order to achieve both goals, group and one-on-one training sessions were designed to familiarise staff with the WordPress platform, how to log in, how to change existing content, and how to create new pages using the post and page templates. The project team also created a training manual that outlined all the day-to-day changes, content management changes and practices. So I'm not sure if you can see it too well up there, but it is contained within the full paper. This is our homepage. So along the top there, because of our name change, we rechanged our branding as well. So that's the Research Information Services. And then directly underneath that is our discovery layer of where you can search for articles or find the books and ebooks within our collection, and also the e-journals, which is our publications. So the top branding and also that search discovery layer bar is consistent across all of our pages, and also contained in there is the Ask Us, which is the red button on the right-hand side, which links people through to our online forms to be able to contact our RIS staff. And then directly underneath that is the two tabs of Access and Research. And following on from that is we've got the one bar on the side which we like to advertise our recent papers from our DST researchers, and also the other post on the right-hand side, which is all of our RIS news. So the redeveloped website was launched as part of a divisional roadshow by the senior DST management team. The roadshow outlined the new enhancements and features of the website, including the subject guides and the researchers' toolkits and the recently published DST scholarly articles. Many forms of the launch promotion was utilised, including an article in our internal magazine and our intranet article, emails, posters, signature blocks at the bottom of your emails, and flyers. And this all commenced 6 weeks before the launch to start engaging our researchers. And we used a consistent tagline of "Open the digital front door to information discovery today." So the project team regularly discussed areas of work that had been completed that could have been undertaken differently. And these became the lessons learnt and were listed in the closure report. The lessons learnt was a significant opportunity for the project team to explore future enhancements and to transfer skills to future projects, such as the importance of sponsor engagement from the outset, clearly defined deliverables, the competing timeframes from other projects, the allocation of limited resources, and building a priority list of achievable projects with management. A review of the project was undertaken and a closure report prepared for the sponsor's approval, and thankfully that signified the end of our project. Handover was then completed to the respective RIS staff, and the project team began celebrating. The closure report included discussion points on highlights and innovations, performance achieved, constraints, lessons learnt, and a list of future recommendations. So this presentation has shared the experiences of the RIS website redevelopment project, from scope development to launch, to achieve service delivery digitally. Our website is now the front door to our services and resources. The challenge and subsequent achievement of this project during a period of constant change within DST and RIS highlighted that planning, determination, adaptability and perseverance are valued qualities that any successful team must possess. Now, one thing that can always be counted on is change, and 1 year after implementation of our WordPress site, the current DST intranet situation has significantly changed, with a complete rebuild, and we're now on a SharePoint platform. So all the DST intranet pages, including RIS website, has been migrated to that new platform. So all of the pages, posts, features, the architecture design has all been retained in its original form. Thankfully, that work was not lost. So migration of the new platform was facilitated by the design choices and the lessons learnt from this WordPress project. So this concludes our presentation, and Deanne and I are happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Deanne and Ursula, and thank goodness it could be migrated to the new platform. You must have just gone, oh. So are there any questions? Yep, just pop up, and if you could state your name and your institution as well. Do you
Hi.
maybe want to pop up to the microphone? I'm not sure if you can. Thanks. Sorry.
I'm Lachlan Young. I'm one of your close neighbours at the University of South Australia.
Lovely.
I just wanted to know if you've done any planning for metrics or ongoing testing that you might use to continue making sure that your website is continuing to fulfil the needs of your clients.
Yes. I think when we, during the project planning phase, we wanted to, I guess, run the same usability testing 12 months after, which was the plan, to run that and see if our researchers were able to navigate our website. But I guess the move to SharePoint has delayed that, but I really do think it's important to go back now and to do some usability testing. And because you want your website to be ongoing improvement. We don't want to get to the stage where we were before, where we had to do a complete redevelopment because it was so old. But yes, no, we haven't. But yes, we had planned on and have not implemented, to my knowledge.
No, at this stage, no, because the new SharePoint site, everyone is still, well, a lot of people are still building their page. I know it does sound horrible that we had to migrate to the new platform, but it actually was perfect because we'd already done the work and we just migrated it as it was currently looking. So it really was beneficial that we didn't have to start from scratch as soon as they said, you know, you're moving to a SharePoint site. So no, it is something we will be looking at doing, but probably not for another 6 more months.
Jan McDonald, State Library, Victoria. This is a question slightly out of your website, which I think is extraordinary. Have you lost anything by no longer having a physical presence, by no longer having somewhere where the researchers can come and say, we're starting this project, can you tell me what sort of a research feed you can give me, or I'm having this problem? Do you find you get enough feedback, enough understanding from your online presence?
I guess we've got a new, another new transition in the library where our research librarian teams are currently being embedded out into our divisions. So instead of sitting back at their desk, we've got 10 divisions in DST, so around land, weapons, all of those sort of things. So our research librarians are currently being embedded into the division to work amongst the researchers, so their workstations are amongst the researchers, which I think will go towards being really quite heavily involved in their everyday discussions and their meetings. So we're hoping that that will counteract the complete loss of our physical presence. We have, our researchers found it hard, I must say. There was a lot of angst about us closing our physical collection. It was a tough time. It wasn't easy for us and it wasn't easy for them, but we've got that presence, and I think having the research librarians embedded, I think it'll help.
I've got a quick one. I know this is out of your control, but SharePoint or WordPress?
I think that the SharePoint site that we have at the moment is being defence is very heavily. Well, we're sort of we can only do certain changes to it. There's not a lot, but I must say I still love WordPress. I really do.
Gave us a lot more flexibility, and we had a lot more people who could add an administration in there.
Yeah.
But
At the moment, we're not able to get into the back of the code of SharePoint, so it's hard to make a comparison. But yeah, I do prefer WordPress. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And join me in thanking Deanne and Ursula again for their